Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this multi-locational meeting of the Licensing and Gambling Subcommittee being held on the 16th of January 2026. My name is Councillor Shane Williams, and I will be chairing this meeting today. This meeting is being live streamed, and a recording will be made available to view via the Council's website, except for discussions involving confidential or exempt items. The live streaming will be paused when the exempt item is considered. Therefore, the images and audio of those individuals present and or speaking will be publicly available to all via the recording on the Council's website. I will now carry out a roll call for attendance. So please, can you announce yourself as present when I call out your name? Councillor David Haas.
Present.
Councillor Teresa Heron.
Present.
And I'll check the following officers here. Lee Morgan, Licensing Manager.
Present, Chair. Good morning.
Ben Thomas.
Present.
We have Todd Rawson.
Present, Chair.
And Andrea Jones and Sharon Hughes from Committee Services. The responsible authorities, I will check. We have Victoria Woodland.
Present, Chair. Good morning.
Sandra Lewis-Williams.
Present, Chair.
Rhian Cross from Trading Standards.
Present.
And Dean Pugh.
Present, Chair.
Thank you. We were due to have a... Yes, we have PC John Taylor.
Present, Chair.
Thank you. We've had apologies from Councillor Liz Allsworth. The premises licence holder, you are Mr. Perkins.
Present, Chair.
And Mr. Barnaby.
Present.
Barnaby.
Yes,
Thank you very much. We'll now move on to the agenda. I don't think I've missed.
Chair, just obviously to introduce residents present in the chamber as well.
We have Mr. and Mrs. Priest. That's right, isn't it?
Present, Chair.
Thank you very much for that, Lee. If there's anyone else I've missed out, please make itself known. We've had some apologies for absence. As I say, Councillor Liz Allsworth can't make it, and a couple of the residents can't make it. But I understand Mrs. Priest will be speaking. Councillors and officers are reminded of their personal responsibility to declare any personal and or prejudicial interest in respect of any item of business on this agenda in accordance with the Local Government Act 2000, the Council's Constitution and the Code of Conduct for both councillors and officers. Please indicate if you have any such declarations. Members, you will see the public interest test attached to the meeting papers. Please could I have a mover and a seconder for the recommendations of the proper officer as set out in the public interest test?
Move.
A second.
Thank you, members. I agree the recommendation because there are exempt matters, namely videos and audios, that will be shared later. That will be introduced by Ms. Victoria Woodland, and when that's done, we'll move into exempt session. So we'll now move on to the review of the premises licence. I now hand over to our solicitor, Todd Rawson.
Thank you, Chair. Before members consider the matter before them, I'll firstly run through the procedure that will be followed for this meeting. The procedure that we follow today is that firstly the licensing manager will present his report. All parties will then have the opportunity to ask questions of the licensing manager regarding the information contained within the report and the information presented today. Following that, the applicant, Victoria Woodland, from Environmental Health Pollution Team as the responsible authority, will then be asked to address the subcommittee in support of the representations made. All parties will then have the opportunity to ask the applicant questions as the responsible authority. Each responsible authority will be asked in turn to address the subcommittee in support of the representations made in the report. All parties will then have the opportunity to ask questions of each responsible authority as we go along. The elected member, who's not here, but the residents will then be asked to address the subcommittee. Similarly, once you've finished, questions may be asked of yourself. Once everyone's been heard from, then the premises licence holder, Mr. Perkins, will be asked to address the committee in support of the representations made with the evidence provided In response to the application, obviously if Mr Barnaby wishes to speak on your behalf, Mr Perkins, in part or in full, entirely fine. And again, all parties will have the ability to ask questions of the licence holder and his representative should they wish. All parties will then have the opportunity to sum up. Please note that a summing up doesn't allow you to introduce new evidence or new threads of argument at that point in time, so make sure that in your primary submission you cover everything that you wish to. It is a good opportunity for you to condense your arguments so that the subcommittee is left in no doubt what your position is. Okay. For those online, if you can't hear a question clearly or a response, then let us know and we'll have the question or response repeated so that you can hear it. If you do lose connection, please make every effort to reconvene. We'll pause proceedings until you're back online. If you've got any difficulties in reconnecting, please call committee services on 01443 873 575. Once all parties have summed up, the parties will be asked to leave the meeting room. If you're online, you'll be asked to hang up using the relevant Teams button. The subcommittee will sit and deliberate on the evidence before them and reach a decision. That decision will be reduced to writing, and that written decision will be issued to all parties within 5 working days of the meeting. That's the procedure for the meeting. If anyone has any questions, can you please indicate in the chamber or use the hands up function on Teams? Don't think there's any hands. I'll pass back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much for that, Todd. I shall now hand over to Lee Morgan from Licensing to introduce the report.
Chair, members, good morning. Members, the item for your consideration and determination this morning is the review application of the premises licence issued under the Licensing Act 2003 to the Rupera Club, located at Navigation Street, Thomas, CF83 8FR. The premises licence holder and current DPS being Mr Ross Perkins, who's with us in the chamber today. Members, the application for review has been brought by a responsible authority, namely Environmental Health Pollution Team, who are represented today by Victoria Woodland. Members, the site plan and photographs of the premise and the immediate vicinity are detailed within appendices 1 to 3 of the report bundle. The existing licence permits the sale of alcohol and activities such as late night refreshment, live and recorded music, indoor sport and events, and plays until 0100 hours. The opening hours detailed on the licence detail that the premises may open between the hours of 0900 through till 0130 hours in the morning. Members, you should note that the existing licence permits the sale of alcohol on the premises only. There is no off-sales provision on this licence, so no alcohol should be taken outside of the licensable area. The existing conditions on the premises licence are detailed at paragraph 1.32 of your report bundle, and you can find those between pages 4 to 7 of the report. By way of some background, Mr Perkins became the premises licence holder and the designated premises supervisor on the 4th of December 2024. Mr Perkins became a personal licence holder on the 24th of July 2024. Ms Woodland will address you in relation to her team's application shortly. The representations are set out at Appendix 6 of the report, and you can find Victoria's representations on behalf of the Environmental Pollution Team contained between 47 and 115 of the report bundle. However, a brief summary, members, of Victoria's comments can be found at page 9. Following the application for review, there is a period of 28 days for other responsible authorities and other persons to comment on the review application. During that period, comments were received from the Licensing Authority in its role as a responsible authority, Gwent Police, the Training Standards Team, and Environmental Health and Safety, together with representations received from 4 local residents and the elected member for the area. The comments of the responsible authorities can be viewed between pages 117 through to 130 of the report, and the residents' comments between pages 131 to 138. The comments of the elected member detailed on page 139. A summary of the concerns of those individuals are contained, though, in your report between pages 9 and 12. Members, unless all parties agree that the hearing isn't necessary, members of the Licensing and Gambling Subcommittee are required to determine this review application. In doing so, you will consider the Licensing Act 2003, the Section 182 Home Office Guidance, the Council's Statement of Licensing Policy, and all representations made and evidence presented, both in the report that you've had already, and then any live evidence that you hear today. So, to assist members, some relevant extracts of the Section 182 guidance and the Council's Statement of Licensing Policy you can view on appendices 4 and 5 of this report. In determining this review, members, you are presented with a number of options, which include taking no action through to the potential revocation of this premises licence. Other options available to you are the suspension of the licence for up to a period of 3 months, the removal of the designated premises supervisor, the removal of licensable activities, and the modification of conditions of the premises licence itself. Members, you will note that the licence holder has the ability to respond to the review, and Mr Perkins or Mr Barnaby will address you later in the meeting. However, the applicant comments received to date on the 27th of December are reproduced in your report bundle appendix 16. However, a summary of the comments can be found on pages 12 and 13 of the report. Members, I will just check with you. There was some papers served by Mr Perkins yesterday. Chair, if I may, could I just check that you've had the opportunity to have sight of those papers?
Yes, we've all seen those, Lee.
Thank you very much. Those papers, for wider person's interest, will include some photographs, a letter of support from a resident, a petition from some over 50s group. Then there's a list of names which appear to be linked to an online petition indicating support for the premises, asking for the hours not to be reduced. And one final matter then are some messages exchanged between Mr Perkins and the resident. Mr Perkins will be able to address you in relation to those matters later this morning. Members, in considering this application for review, you will keep in the foremost of your minds the 4 licensing objectives. These are the prevention of public nuisance, the prevention of crime and disorder, the protection of public safety, and the protection of children from harm. Each of the licensing objectives, members, you will know, are of equal importance. You will see in the officer report at paragraph 19, between pages 14 to 18, some observations in relation to the review that has been brought. And with all reports of this type, there is a recommendation of myself based on the information that's been received to date. In this matter, you will note that the officer recommendation is for a reduction of the hours for licensable activities of the premises and for a revision of conditions of the licence to be attached to the premises licence. However, this is just a recommendation, and any decision in respect of the premises licence and impact upon it today will be a decision of the members of this subcommittee. After members, you have heard from all of the parties, and subsequently then, as the legal officer has indicated, your decision must be communicated to all parties within 5 working days. Chair, perhaps I would propose to pass back to you at this point, and then you can invite any questions in relation to the officer report. If there may be some, there may be none. If there are none, then obviously I would invite you then to allow Ms Woodland to make her representations to you this morning. Chair, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that, Lee. Are there any questions? Todd?
Mr Morgan, you just mentioned your recommendation at 110 in a report. You mentioned that based on the evidence to date. Would that include the evidence that was submitted yesterday? Would that sway your recommendation in any way?
The information including of yesterday, so that the decision at the moment has not changed.
Thank you.
Or recommendation. Yes, yeah.
Thank you for that. Are there any questions from any party to Lee at this stage? Okay. Well, in that case, I now hand over to Victoria Woodland to present a case. Just to explain again, there will be a point where we will move into exam session when you want to share the audio and visual. So when you do that,
Indeed,
if you let
Chair.
me know,
Yes,
we'll
will do.
pause the live stream. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Okay, so Environmental Health have made this application for the review of the premises licence issued to Club Repairer for the reasons outlined in the report and detailed in Appendix 6. Since April 2025, Environmental Health have been investigating activities at Club Repairer in response to ongoing complaints of noise and antisocial behaviour, particularly attributed to patrons in external areas. As part of this investigation, and as is standard procedure, the complainant was asked to maintain diary records of incidents. The complainant was diligent in this request, and some of these diary records are exhibited with the application and in VW3, 7, 9, 14 and 15. For the benefit of the subcommittee and with the assistance of committee services, I provide clips of the CCTV footage taken from each of these exhibits over a period between April and November 2025. I now hand over to committee services to do that. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, Victoria, I hand back over to you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, so we've had the opportunity to listen to the CCTV or the audio footage that's been provided by the complainant. The footage clearly demonstrates the nature and persistence of the nuisance endured by the complainant and her family, all of which were late at night or mostly early hours of the morning. That the complaints have not been frivolous and have not been vexatious. In fact, complaints have further been substantiated by 4 separate officers on 3 separate occasions. Sorry, 3 separate officers on 4 separate occasions. The first was obviously witnessing a statutory nuisance, and then subsequently breaches of a notice that was served on the 1st of October, and the breaches occurred on the 1st, the 5th and the 8th of November 2025. From the evidence gathered during our investigation, it was clear that patrons had no respect for management controls or the amenity of the local area. Despite various interventions with the licence holder between April and November, having used the full range of enforcement tools available to us in respect of statutory nuisance, we were faced with no option but to make this review application. We do not seek to revoke or suspend the licence, but to pull back terminal hours to a more reasonable time and to modify conditions to assist in effective management of the club and safeguard licensing objectives for the long term, in particular the prevention of public nuisance. Just a little context, obviously I think it's in the report anyway, all of my submissions are in the report, but Club Repairer is located on Navigation Street in a predominantly residential area with domestic dwellings on 3 sides and allotment to the rear. The period between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. is widely recognised in UK law and by the World Health Organisation as a nighttime period where stricter noise controls are necessary to help prevent sleep disturbance. The licensing policy recognises that a high standard of control is necessary to minimise the potential for any public nuisance where a premises is situated in a residential area and has extended opening hours. The licensing policy also recognises the key links to health and well-being from public nuisance in terms of disturbed sleep and stress caused by nuisance. I'm conscious that we have a lot to get through this morning, so I shall leave my submission there and invite any questions from members and the licence holder. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Victoria. Now I'm going to invite questions to Victoria. Are there any questions at this stage to Victoria? Just a question from me, Victoria. I noticed in your report that we've seen a number of incidences documented, and that you've engaged with the premises licence holder on several occasions to give advice and to how to manage,
Yes,
best
Chair.
manage the...
We have explored a variety of interventions from informal letters to site meetings, one of which was recorded by the licence holder. We have then obviously issued formal actions by way of statutory noise abatement notice and subsequent breach of those notices, and they've been notified of case proceedings that will be taken in respect of the breaches for the statutory nuisance.
And despite that advice, or those
Yes.
regular advice, has there been any change or improvement to the...
I think from the clips that were shown, we can see that between
Much-
April and November, that although there has been some improvement and there have been other issues like noise from the fans that have been addressed by the licence holder, unfortunately, we get into the situation that it's short-lived, and then we get into the situation that was witnessed in November and culminated in 3 breaches of the statutory nuisance abatement
and
notice.
on that, the fan, take the noise of the fan,
Yes.
'cause particularly, you know, that's documented. Is that resolved satisfactorily now, the issue about the fan? Because I know that there's been some evidence of it being repaired, or it's been attempted to be
So
repaired.
at the moment, as far as I'm aware, the noise from the fan has been resolved.
Yes, it's been resolved. It has been resolved.
Okay, well, that's fair enough. That at least that issue seems to be not a concerning issue
Yes, Chair.
with the noise. Any questions for Victoria? Todd?
Victoria, in relation to the meeting that was recorded at the request of
Yes.
the licence holder, is that a common request or a rare request?
Very rare.
Did he give any indication as to any medical reason why he needed it recorded?
He did in email correspondence, so that it was difficult for personal reasons. So
And you consented to that?
I did.
Did you request a copy?
I did.
Was a copy ever received?
No,
Was there an explanation why the copy wasn't received?
no.
Thank you.
One other question from me. I think on the 11th of November, I think it's written that you received an email, and I think the premises license holder suggested this was a vendetta, and that we would be hearing from his legal team.
Yes.
Has there been any legal?
I've had nothing
Notification.
from any legal team in respect of this matter. No, I haven't.
Todd?
In your professional view, given the experience and the information you've listed in the report, did you find the premises holder, license holder, to be cooperative in all aspects or resistant in some aspects?
Resistive and dismissive of complaints, and it's been maintained throughout.
And as a general rule, Victoria, is this a common thing that you would go out to give advice to license holders if there's a potential problem with anything, and to give advice how to manage?
In response to ongoing complaints, yes, there is a dialogue. We do give advice, and we are available for advice at any point. The emails, phone calls, those channels are available to license holders at any point to get advice from us. So sorry.
I ask that in the sense that I note that
We wouldn't necessarily need to do the site meetings. No. It's only on circumstances where we feel that there's breaches, of conditions, or with regards to nuisance episodes.
Reference was made to the date that he'd had a personal license and taken over the club and everything, and there's some reference, which we might explore a bit later, how inexperienced or as a new license holder in relation to this, all the more reason you think that there'd be more of a willingness to understand and to follow any advice given.
Yes.
Is that a fair point?
It was demonstrated throughout that the license holder didn't have an understanding, perhaps, of the gravity of the situation, and was, like I said, dismissive throughout with respect to the complaints that were being received, and maintained that it was a vendetta against him. But also, at no point have we had any of the CCTV coverage that would have rebutted the claims that have been made by the complainant. Obviously, you can see the CCTV that we've provided in the footage. There's never been anything that has rebutted that at all in any sort of monitoring or otherwise.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Victoria. Mr. Perkins, you wanted to...
They were more than welcome to see the CCTV. They just needed to, at the time, we didn't have the time on the day. However, they were more than welcome to come and do it.
Victoria?
Can I just make the point that Mr. Perkins requested that we have or provide him with written a request to view the CCTV footage, which we did, and we've never had the opportunity to see that footage.
And is that quite a common thing if you needed to see a CCTV?
It's very uncommon. Generally, licence holders allow us access to view their CCTV footage. In fact, normally it's a condition on a vast number of licences that we would be able to go and just view that CCTV footage. Yeah. It's common practice, but unfortunately, we were met with resistance.
Thank you, Victoria. Councillor Heron?
Thank you, Victoria. Is it not? I'm not the best with CCTV, so I'd like to understand. So, if you're going to view CCTV, do you need to provide written permission to access images?
Chair, perhaps I can assist with, in this instance, the condition relevant to CCTV at this premises is very weak, or currently very weak. So Mr. Perkins could be within his rights to say no, because there isn't a condition which would require him to divulge under the Licensing Act as a condition. The condition perhaps would not require him directly to provide that access that has been indicated today. Obviously, from a good practice point of view and from a promoting and licensing objectives point of view, that is a different matter. However, I think it's only fair to Mr. Perkins that he could have, he may not had to have done it as part of the license condition currently. So perhaps just to give you some indication there.
Thank you for that clarity. Todd?
So yeah, just adding to Lee's point, I think the existing conditions on page 5, it says Annex 2. I think there's only one condition that mentions CCTV. It just says that it's there, nothing more.
Yeah, I note that, Todd. Are there any other questions to Victoria at this stage from anyone? Well, in that case, I shall move on, and I shall move on to Sandra Lewis-Williams from the Licensing Authority.
Good morning, members. Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Mr. Perkins, Mr. Barnaby. A summary of my representations are provided in the report from page 9 to 10, with the full representation contained in Appendix 7 on page 117 to 119 of the bundle. The Licensing Authority fully supports this review application and the grounds upon which it has been based. This is considered to be the final option available following a stepped approach of visits, support and advice over the previous year since the transfer of the premises licence and variation of the designated premises supervisor to Mr. Perkins in December 2024. My representations detail the visits made to the premise and with the Environmental Health Officer following complaints received in an attempt to find a resolution. Following a request to visit the premises after alleged noise complaints in August 2025, Mr. Perkins detailed in an email that due to commitments running multiple businesses, he dedicated a specific day and times to managing the club and requesting that all meetings to be within these times, which was 3 hours on a Monday afternoon between midday and 3 p.m. The Licensing Authority lacks confidence in the ability of the licence holder to manage the premise and promote the licensing objectives due to his relative inexperience and the time he can commit to managing the premises. This is of particular concern as Mr. Perkins is also the designated premises supervisor, whose role should be the day-to-day management of the premise and authorising alcohol sales. It is understood that Mr. Perkins has put forward in his response, I just need to cough to apologise. In his response that he intends to apply to vary the designated premises supervisor to another member of staff who works at the premises more frequently. To date, it is noted that no application has been made to vary the designated premises supervisor. However, members may wish to condition this as part of the review hearing. It is considered that the Licensing Authority has acted fairly in its dealings with the premises in an attempt to bring about compliance and address the complaints received. The Licensing Authority fully supports the position outlined by Victoria Woodland and additionally recommends that 2300 hour should be the terminal hour for all licensable activities and a condition requiring the premises to be clear of patrons within 30 minutes of the last supply of alcohol, which in effect would allow for a 30-minute wind-down time to allow for drinks to be finished and patrons to leave with a final closure of the premises by 23:30. By supporting this review, I have considered the representations of the residents and the impact that these activities have on their residential amenity. In conclusion, it is considered that the reduction in licensing hours by bringing forward the terminal hour for licensable activity and the implementation of and compliance with a more robust operating schedule as detailed in Appendix 17 will assist the licence holder in the promotion of the licence objectives. Thank you. I'll hand back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much for that, Sandra. Are there any questions to Sandra? Mr. Perkins?
The reason I said that I was busy was because they would turn up unannounced, and I would need to be able to put a meeting in place. So yes, I am busy, but I've always got time. It's just as long as it's scheduled in and not unannounced.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Perkins.
Just want to
Sandra?
clarify, we always arranged the meetings prior. There was only one occasion that we went and announced, and that was following the information received that he was there at the premises during those times. Other than that, we've always done pre-arranged visits.
Thank you very much. Did you say you wanted to come into that?
Yes, and that was the exact time. That was the time when they come and announced that I wasn't there, and that's when I requested.
I think there was something in the report that a meeting was scheduled and a day before it was cancelled as well. And
No, what happened was they turned up unannounced. We wasn't there.
no.
Sorry, yes, wasn't, from my reading of the evidence, wasn't it that there was a direction that in certain hours on a Monday, the DPS would be there, a license holder would be there, and you had that information, say, the week before, so then you turned up at the appointed time when he would be there, and he wasn't there. Am I reading that right?
That is correct, yes.
And can I just ask about the DPS? We all know how important the role that the designated premises supervisor has. There was some suggestion that it's only there till 12 till 3. Is that?
That's not true. That was the time of the meeting that I've given, the time space. I'm there most days, most evenings.
Because there was some suggestion that because of the business activities that it's not available to
That was
not,
that was the information provided by Mr. Perkins, which detailed that he obviously has other businesses which he has to manage, and as such he could only allocate that period of time to manage this premise.
which has led to the. Sorry, Mr. Perkins, can I just explore this and then I'll come to you if that's okay? Which, from my reading, albeit I'll come back to you, there's been some suggestion that they would then seek to appoint a new designated premises supervisor who lived closer and who could devote more time to the... That was the reason. I note that you said that there's been no application for a new designated premises supervisor. Yes. And I also take note of your maybe suggestion of a condition on that. But I would just... Mr. Perkins, you wanted to come in and respond to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that those were the hours that I'd given time for the council. However, I'm always on site, evenings, in the mornings. I'm there regular to manage the premises.
So as you are the designated premises...
I am, yes.
Look, I won't jump around and start asking you questions now. I'll wait for your representation and then follow it up. But I'm just trying to get some clarity with the DPS, because there's been some suggestion there wants to be a new DPS, the one who lived closer and could devote more time. But you're saying, Mr. Perkins, that you were there all the time. Is that right?
I'm there all the time as of now. However, moving forward, okay, there would be a new DPS put in place.
But as we said, there's been no application for a new DPS.
Not at the moment.
Okay, nothing further for me for Sandra. Is there any questions to the licensing authority?
Chair, perhaps it will assist members. Mr. Perkins has responded to the review on the 27th of December 2025 and has indicated on pages 141 through to 143 of his intention to in the process of changing the designated premises supervisor to a trusted member of staff who holds a personal licence, is present in the venue most days and lives approximately 5 minutes from the premises, Should they be required when off shift, this will ensure stronger daily oversight and immediate accountability.
Yes, I had read that. Thank you for that help. So any further questions to the licensing authority at this stage? If there's not, I'll move on to Gwent Police and PC John Taylor.
Morning, Chair. Morning, everyone. Myself, as a responsible authority for Gwent Police licensing, we welcome and recommend and support our responsible authorities in this application. It's quite straightforward from the report from Appendix 8, what Gwent Police are requesting. In essence, there's 6 new conditions be added to make this license more robust, more fit for purpose, and to promote the licensing objectives. It will make the license holder and any DPS more responsible in the management of that premises license. As just been said by one of our responsible authorities and echoed by Mr. Perkins, we would welcome some of the things he's offering from page 142 on Appendix 16. As Mr. Morgan has just alluded to, a new DPS in place, which will provide stronger daily oversight and immediate accountability. There are some other conditions that are also recommended on Appendix 17, which may all coincide with Gwent Police recommendations and conditions. But our feeling is that in support of this last terminal hour being 2300 hours for all licensable activity to cease, will help reduce potential future crime and disorder and allow better management of the premises and easier accountability. The conditions that we are offering are not onerous. There's one condition I've asked to be removed, which is condition, bear with me.
It's about notification of the function.
Condition 5 of the current license. The DPS will advise Gwent Police of any functions occurring at the premises 14 days prior to the event date. For us, is the condition is quite onerous for the owner of the license holder and the DPS, and it's really a condition that we don't see any need for. So, in summing up, we'd like 6 conditions added, and condition 5 removed. And as I said, support the application for the last terminal hour to be 2300 hours with a 30-minute leave-in or drinking up time.
Thank you very much for that, PC Taylor. Do we have any questions for PC Taylor? I've got 2 questions, PC Taylor, if you don't mind. I note that we've seen some of the footage, and I understand that the police was called on, I think, the 5th of November, or after the events of the 5th of November, after fighting. Yeah. Is that?
Yeah. There's on page 122 that police log is noted. Not all calls to the police have been given in the pack, because right. Some are referred to our responsible authority because they don't come into the crime and disorder or warrant a police response. But that call, you are right. It's noted on page 122. It was reported at 22:12 hours, and the caller here is shouting and screaming going on, gang in car park that have come from the club. At this point in time, I'm not divulging who the caller was.
And I note that the request is to reduce the hour from the terminal hour from 1 a.m. This reference is made about people spilling out onto Navigation Street from this premises, and that's a known hotspot in that area. PC Taylor, is that right? Navigation Street.
I've got no evidence it's a hotspot. If I'm honest, I've got nothing to suggest. The instance that I've given to yourself on page 122 2 of those logs demonstrate due diligence by the premises out of fairness. We'd expect any premises, if they have an incident which they can't control themselves, to ring police, which they've done on this occasion. One was in February 25, where a door staff member was being assaulted. Another one on the 17th of April was reported at 18:56 hours, where staff reported a banned male. We don't consider this a black mark against the premises. We encourage premises, if they cannot manage any situation, to ring police. But I wouldn't call this a high demand area or premise for police activity.
Thank you very much for that, PC Taylor. Are there any further questions for PC Taylor? If there's not, I'll now move on to trading standards, and I'll hand over to Rhian Cross.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, committee, and good morning, everyone else. I'm Rhian Cross from the Trading Standards Service, and my representation is brief and can be found on page 125 to 128 of the review bundle. Trading Standards, as a responsible authority, fully supports the review application brought by Environmental Health. Trading Standards also supports the representations made by both Gwent Police and the Licensing Authority, and we share the same concerns as the Licensing Authority. Whilst we have not had any previous engagement with the licence holder directly, we concur that, one, Mr Perkins appears relatively inexperienced, having held a personal licence only since July 2024, and two, that Mr Perkins did not appear to have day-to-day control of the premises prior to this review, and as he has responsibility as a designated premises supervisor for the sale of alcohol at the premise, this is a concern for Trading Standards. Trading Standards supports the position of Environmental Health in that we believe 11 p.m. should be the terminal hour for licensable activities, with the additional condition requiring the premises to close 30 minutes after the last supply of alcohol. Trading Standards also fully supports the conditions put forward by Gwent Police in relation to CCTV. Trading Standards recommend the inclusion of our own additional conditions as identified on pages 126 to 128 of the bundle. We believe these conditions will assist the licence holder in promoting the licensing objectives, in particular, protection of children from harm, licensing objective, in relation to underage sales prevention. This will go some way to demonstrating the licence holder's commitment to the licensing objectives and robust management of the premises. Whilst Trading Standards have not introduced any evidence of our own, I would like to just draw the attention of the committee to the statement of a licensing policy, particularly paragraph 28.7, which informs that there is no requirement for a responsible authority to produce a recorded history of problems at the premises to support their representation. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Rhian. Is there any questions to Trading Standards and to Rhian? If not, I thank you, Rhian, and we'll move on to Environmental Health and Safety and Dean Pugh.
You'll find my representations on page 129, Appendix 10. As with Trading Standards, they're fairly brief, but it sort of supports the representations of fellow REs, in particular Trading Standards and Licensing, where references are made to public safety. We've had an opportunity to review the application, obviously submitted by Victoria Woodland, concerning the premises licence held by Mr Ross Perkins for the Repair Club. And acting as a responsibility, I fully support the review application and grounds on which it's been made. Having also reviewed the representations made by both Gwent Police, Trading Standards and the Licensing Authority, Environmental Health Health and Safety fully support these representations. We noticed that fellow RAs referred to the lack of confidence in the ability of the licence holder to manage the premises during its current operating hours, and we fully agree with the observations made by the licensing authority that Mr Perkins appears relatively inexperienced, having held a personal licence only since July 2024. It appears his other business commitments mean he is not in day-to-day control of the premises. This is particularly concerning as Mr Perkins is also the designated premises supervisor, whose role should be the day-to-day management of the premises. Environmental Health, Health and Safety fully supports the position outlined by Victoria Woodland and recommends that 2300 be the terminal hour for all licensable activities, with an additional condition requiring the premises to close and be cleared on patrons within 30 minutes of the last supply of alcohol. Environmental Health, Health and Safety also supports the inclusion of conditions proposed by Gwent Police, trading standards and the licensing authority. It is hoped that a more robust premises licence will assist the licence holder in promoting the licensing objectives, and to that end, trading standards recommend the following conditions below to be added to the licence. Sorry, I misread that. The addition of the conditions are not cost prohibitive and are basic conditions that would assist in particular the demonstration of protecting children from harm, from the children from harm licensing objective. We've also got concerns, obviously, from the evidence given, as you can see, regarding the late night nuisance after the 12 p.m. with the videos that we've seen today, which confirms that it's not being managed in a way that it should be, really. I think that sums up basically our...
Thank you very much for that, Dean. Are there any questions for Dean from the Environmental Health, Health and Safety? Okay. Sorry. No. Okay. So there doesn't seem to be any questions at this stage. So I'll now go to the residents. Mrs. Priest, I understand, is going to speak.
Yes, I will.
Feel free.
I'd like to thank the committee for its time and opportunity to address this matter today. Since early December, there has been an improvement in the noise and antisocial behaviour associated with the premises, except for the disturbances reported on the night of Boxing Day and the evening of the 9th of January. Measures appear to be introduced. However, it's important to mention that these have been implemented very recently, not in response to the continuous concerns raised throughout the year. It is concerning that attempted action to address the issues associated with the premises has only occurred at this advanced stage, despite concerns having persisted for a considerable period. The licence holder has had ample opportunity to implement effective mitigation measures, yet meaningful action has only taken place at this late stage, primarily in the context of negotiations regarding permitted licensing hours and following the installation of CCTV on Navigation Street. We fully accept that residing next to a licensed premises will involve a degree of disturbance and occasional unwanted behaviour. However, in 20 years we have owned this property, having spent much of my childhood there with my grandparents. We have never experienced the disruption and intrusion that we have faced throughout the last year. The licence holder frequently describes the premises as a community pub, but from our perspective, this is not reflected in practice. A community premises would demonstrate a holistic approach to respect, take pride in the area in which it operates, and respond constructively to legitimate concerns. Instead, evidence to date suggests the premises is only concerned with satisfying patrons rather than the wider community. There have been instances of conduct by the licence holder that we consider inappropriate and unprofessional. These include a telephone call received by us as an attempt of intimidation, trespass of private property where advertising banners have been attached to our garden fence without permission and remain in place, a social media post that indirectly attributed parking enforcement in the area to ourselves, suggesting we impose financial hardship on others before Christmas. And more recently, on the 10th of January, a social media post on the club's and a local community page, specifically pinpointing our house as the reason why the club is navigating a licence review, inciting an online witch hunt against our family in an attempt to isolate us from the community. These actions raise concerns regarding boundaries, conduct, and the treatment of residents who may wish to raise legitimate issues. The club's social media post states, "The reason for the licence review is because of noise pollution, mainly before 11 p.m, and it's down to no fault of our own. We have put all the necessary rules and regulations in place as responsible licensees to reduce noise to a minimum to stop this from happening. However, our smoking area shares the same boundary wall as our neighbours, and this is where the issue is." Even after all the evidence that has been presented to the licence holder and the representations that have been submitted, the social media post highlights that the licence holder accepts no responsibility for the nuisance and disturbances caused over the past 9 months, despite what was stated in the response letter on the 27th of December. Our main concern moving forward is that if recommendations are not implemented, we will face an escalation of disturbance and we must live another year under the same conditions. Given the location of the premises, the poor standard of management demonstrated to date, and the fact that no household should have to endure this type of intrusion, we advocate for the recommendations made by Environmental Health and strongly oppose the licence holder's request to negotiate his permitted hours.
Thank you very much for that, Mrs. Priest. Are there any questions to Mrs. Priest? If you don't mind, just a couple of questions from me. You made mention at the Boxing Day in January, there was some more disturbance. Is that been recorded, or is that?
Yeah, so the disturbance on the night of Boxing Day was reported to out of hours. So that's been logged, and evidence has been submitted to both dates to Environmental Health and Licensing.
Victoria?
Yes, I can confirm both of those points. Yes, the Boxing Day is for emergency response only through our out-of-hours service, so an officer didn't attend. However, the complaint has been logged, and we do have the recordings.
And is that the late hours?
Saturday, I believe.
Is that the late hours? Because a lot of the footage we saw was 1 o'clock.
The Boxing Day was into late hours, but the 9th of January, I would ceased about between 10 and 10:30.
Okay. Thank you. And you said that you've had some social media posts.
Yes.
You feel intimidated by that?
I think there's an attempt of intimidation. It was more concerning, I think, that our house was, because we are the only property that shares a boundary wall with the smoking area, and that was stated on the social media post. It was very indicative to the people in the community what household had made the complaints.
I think in the report there's some suggestion that this is a pub and it's been there a long time. Mm-hmm. It's had a license. It had a license before as a club, I understand it. Was you living there then when it was run?
So my grandparents owned the club, owned our property that we live in now. Right. So they resided there from the 1950s. And I bought our home in 2005. Right.
And despite that operating as a club, you've never
we've had instances of disturbance. Naturally we're going to have instances of disturbance, but they weren't ongoing and they weren't regular. It was just one of the things where things would spill out of control, but it wasn't a regular occurrence. It wasn't enough to cause the upset.
This is on a different scale and a
Absolutely.
different regularity and
Yeah,
a different experience for
absolutely.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Todd?
I mean, just might be helpful for the committee to flesh out further detail about what you say is an intimidatory telephone call. You've summed it up as being intimidating, but what's intimidating to you might be different for other people.
Absolutely.
So if you can give some more detail on that would be helpful.
So, following the incident on the 5th of November, which you've seen the video footage for, and I believe that was a date where another breach of the abatement notice was, I think. My husband received a phone call from the licence holder. It was quite confrontational, and it stated something along the lines of, there's been a lot of complaints in the club next door. You live next door to a pub. This is what you should expect. And it just went sort of down those lines.
That's certainly uncomfortable to have that call. Why was it intimidating?
Because we'd felt like we'd got to a point where I believe at this point the license review, the intention of the license review had been communicated with the license holder. The breaches of abatements, he'd been notified of the breaches of abatement, and we just felt that it was, we've had no communication throughout the year when this is, all this has happened, and we'd felt maybe that the license holder had got to a point where he'd felt a little bit I don't know what the word is.
Aggrieved.
Yeah, just maybe a bit aggrieved. He feels that, we've brought about all these problems for the premises. And we felt like it was an attempt to make us stop, maybe.
I see. So you didn't often receive calls from the licence holder?
No.
Perhaps this being the first, is it?
Yeah, this is the first that we felt in attempt of intimidation. We have had communications early on when the premises was taken over. He'd come to the home and assured us he was running it as a community pub and everything was going to be great. There was an event, a big event that was being held early on. I think it was back in March, which, we did have concerns over, if I'm honest. But I will say credit where credit's due. It was well managed. We had no issues. And we did communicate that to the license holder. And we said, we were dreading the event, but actually we had no issues and we had no concerns. And we thought that was going to set the tone.
And that was in March.
That was back in March. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. No, nothing further for me. Mrs. Priest, is there any questions that anyone wants to ask Mrs. Priest?
I've got a question. Have you lived there for 20 years
Yes.
as a whole?
Yes.
You've never moved out of that premises?
No.
Okay.
Thank you very much. You can knock your microphone off now.
I'm sorry. There was a period when I was pregnant with my first child in 2000, when was he born? 2010, 2011. We moved out of the property for a period of about 6 months because we were having the home renovated, but we've never permanently moved out. We've never rented.
It's never been rented out, no?
No.
Okay.
Thank you very much. If you want to knock that off. What relevance that is something we'll have to think of. But anyway, we'll move on. So there's no further questions to Mrs. Priest from anyone in that case. Mr. Perkins, if you want to make your submissions to us and your responses to Victoria Woodland.
So we took over the premises in December 2024 with the full intentions of putting it, we pretty much brought it back it was on the ground. I've been in the area. I'm a local lad. I've been in the area. I live in Lampham Drive. My mum's house backs onto the club, so it's quite close. And from previous experience, I've known the club to be run awfully, to be quite honest. We've come in, we've turned the club around, we've invested a lot of money of our own, no funding, no backing at all. We've brought the club back to life with, as you can see, all the evidence of the petitions and the wellbeing walks, along with the grassroots football, darts, pool, and all the rest of the things. So really speaking, that premises is going to have a lot more more people in there. They're looking to support us as much as we support them. So it is a busier place. We understand that. I believe that I believe the accusations of not running the premises correctly are untrue. I believe there has been issues. However, we have addressed them. We've put many things in place. There's been investment in the property. There's been signage, multiple signage, no drinking to be taken outside, staff training and monthly team meetings, smoking area signage and benches removed from the smoking area to stop any loitering in there. There's CCTV in there, and there's also a mechanical arm on the door that stops any noise coming out. There's been a new fire door fitted. We have regular perimeter checks and smoking area checks to reduce noise. There's bins been there to reduce the public waste that may travel into the premises. So whereas people are coming into the premises, they may leave a taxi and leave rubbish. We've dealt with that. There's end of evening crowd dispersal by staff that's been implemented. There's regular SA licensed door staff that are at the premises often. There's a challenge 25 and proof of ID on arrival. There's been lots of accusations thrown around at the club that are not true, and we believe that the reduced hours will affect us as a community hub. So that's why we're here today. We've put all these things in place, and we're hoping to get things resolved.
Thank you very much, Mr. Perkins. Any questions for Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Councillor Herron?
Thank you, Mr. Perkins. I want to ask you a couple of questions, but I'm not going to ask you all in one go because I've got quite a few. First of all, I want to understand about the noise. When you had the noise abatement order, and you was given advice, obviously, prior to that, why the noise still continued afterwards.
Okay. So we had the notice. We give the staff training of the regular checks, and we feel that the majority of the noise comes from the smoking area. We've reduced the noise in there now by taking the benches away, like I mentioned earlier on, and with the signage as well. So we feel that it's improved.
Okay. So it's interesting you mentioned about the staff training, because I want to know about how you're training your staff.
Okay, so we give them we do regular perimeter checks. So there's notices in each area. On smoking area is one, out the front entrance is the other. They do regular checks to check that there's no noise and nuisance.
So when you're training your staff, you're training them on your licensing objectives?
It's in-house, yes.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And what's the type of response you get from the staff? Are they keen to engage in this type of training?
Of course, yeah. They always are, yeah.
And how many staff do you employ there?
We have 6 members of staff there.
And they all full-time or part-time?
Half, most. There's 2 that are full-time. We've got a manager that's there, and the rest kind of alternate.
Okay. That's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Perkins, you say that some of the accusations are mostly untrue. in the report it says that you claim that it's a vendetta, that they're vexatious. Do you still stand by the fact that these accusations are vexatious?
Well, I believe there's at the start we kind of introduced ourselves and we were explaining that we were running the club as professional, and everything went off great to start. And I said that there's any issues, just contact us direct. We can get it sorted. And I just believe there's so many more CCTV footage clips of things that are nothing and just normal of a premises license. So I think you only seen a number of clips here after hours. However, there is just like average normal things going on, and there's more CCTV footage there.
Of what we've seen then, Mr. Perkins, do you think that's normal?
No, I don't. I'll be honest. There is improvements to be made, and we have put those improvements in place. The main issue is the loitering after hours. I understand that, and we've put staff training in place to deal with that.
Well, you say the main issue is loitering after hours. The report seems to suggest other things. There was specific mention, no entry or re-entry to the premises after 11 p.m. I think that there's been numerous instances where there's been re-entry after 11. Is that fair? Is that right?
I wouldn't say so, no.
So no one has ever entered the premises after 11?
Not that we know of.
And no one has taken glasses away with them to their car or anything like that?
There has been open vessels outside, but again, we've dealt with the issue and put signage up and regular perimeter checks to stop that happening.
So we're suggesting it was like a one-off event with the open vessels outside.
It wouldn't have been an event. The event is any event's a plastic cup policy. However, possibly there has been one or two that have, gone through and we've not been aware of. And so you've not been aware of people drinking outside or taking the drinking away, is it? There's an incident on the report where we put a bench out the front, and that was down to the over 50s club. We didn't want anyone standing around waiting for taxis and whatnot, so we just tried to comfort them, to put them so they could sit down. But that's been taken and has been used elsewhere.
And
at the time I wasn't on site, I was in hospital.
And it says in page 53, I don't know if you have the report in front of you, but page 53, after one of the meetings, I think it's September.
Yes, please.
It's towards the bottom of page 53. Reference, when you explain there's no drinks allowed in the smoking area, managed by staff, it says you didn't want to stop all the fun.
Can you repeat that again? Sorry,
yes,
sir.
If you look on page 53, it's suggested in a meeting, I think it's 26th of September, it says the premises holder detailed that he didn't want to stop the fun.
For what reason?
Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
please.
Okay. The premises license holder dismissed the advice as unworkable. This was about restricting people taking drinks into the smoking area and to restrict the number of patrons, such as a maximum of 10 persons at one time. The premises license holder dismissed the advice as unworkable. It was explained that measures implemented at other licensed premises included signage specifying maximum persons and no drinks allowed in the smoking area, managed by staff routinely monitoring the area and using CCTV to identify individuals not complying with the improvements. The premises license holder detailed that he didn't want to stop fun. Is that...
That, I'll be honest, I don't think that was, I said that, but it was a case of having to go from one area of the club where it's permitted to the other, which is not. Well, it's not permitted in the smoking area. You can take open vessels out in the smoking area. However, I didn't think that it would be necessary But now that we've moved the benches out of there, it's corrected the issue.
So on advice from professional people and as a new license holder, you didn't, and I noticed that you've asked them how you were supposed to manage and manage the situation. You didn't think it was necessary. You didn't want to stop the fun.
No, that wasn't the case. We feel that with every meeting we were coming across, it was always a kind of an issue where we felt that there wasn't. I say wouldn't be necessary, but we'd manage it a different way.
And you just said that you want to keep the terminal hour at 1 o'clock, but I noticed that you're quite happy to bring it forward to 12:30 or 12 o'clock, whatever you want. 11:30 with the 12 o'clock, with 12 o'clock. Because you said it will affect you as a community hub.
That's correct, yeah.
How do you think, or why do you think it will affect you?
Well,
that last hour will affect you.
It's pretty obvious because over an hour over a year is around about 500 hours. And it's trade. The hospitality industry is struggling at the moment. Everything's bringing themselves to its knees. So I feel that it is going to be a massive effect to us.
So the
Financially.
the trade will be affected.
I believe so.
Which suggests that the more hours that you could have, the better it would be for your business. Is that what you're saying?
Well, that's correct, yes.
And obviously the concern is, and we've seen some of the footage, is that a lot of this activity is happening after into the late hours, which is having a detrimental effect on neighbours and residents.
I understand that. Earlier on in the year, these things were occurring. These are not happening now.
And we've seen throughout this report numerous references, September, October, November. And I think Victoria mentioned that they've tried to give you some advice on multiple occasions and you've been quite dismissive of that. As a new licence holder, do you think it would be wise to follow that advice and guidance?
It wasn't dismissive. I was just questioning. That's all it was. I like to question things. So maybe that was seen as different. So
in a backdrop of a lot of complaints, sometimes it might be wise to seek as much advice and help and guidance as you possibly can. And can I just ask the question now about where we are with the designated premises supervisor? I know you suggested that you were in the process of having a new designated premises supervisor there. Is that so? You're no longer going to be the designated premises supervisor.
So sorry to cut you off. What we've done is we've moved on to now having a manager on the premises, and we've also got a member of staff that's been in the industry for 20 plus years and has got a history with the club, and we believe that this lady would be in line for the new DPS.
Page 55 of the report. Several patrons were witnessed to leave the club and freely re-enter the premises despite the condition for no re-entry after 11 p.m. No point was staff witnessed making any attempt to manage patrons during the visit. You said that that's never happened?
I'm unaware of it, no.
As the designated premises supervisor, managing this premises to meet the licensing objectives and knowing there's a backdrop of incidences, you think it would be wise to be focused and concentrated in a way of meeting all those conditions?
Yes, I understand that.
Thank you, Mr. Perkins. Councillor Haas.
Could I ask you, you know, if people are causing a nuisance outside your premises, how do you deal with them? Do you allow them back into the club, or do you put a ban on them, or?
Yeah, well, then they wouldn't be allowed back into the premises.
So they wouldn't be allowed back in if they're causing a nuisance outside your premises?
What staff wouldn't allow them back in.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. I've got a couple of questions. Have you got a figure on how many are allowed to use the outside space when they go for a cigarette? Is it
It's roughly around 20.
about 20? Okay. So how is this actually monitored then? You know, who's watching it? Who's manning the station?
There's CCTV at in the bar area directly into
And that CCTV been there since you become a licensee?
It has, yes.
Okay.
Does it record audio? Does it broadcast audio?
It doesn't. No.
So if it was making if people were making a lot of noise, you wouldn't know that.
Well, that's why we do the perimeter checks.
Can I also ask you then, how are you managing patron dispersal at the end of the evening to minimise disturbance to your neighbours?
So normally what happens is they disperse in groups, and then we'll do the staff perimeter checks to make sure that everyone's off site.
How do you, when you say you disperse them into groups, do you...
Well, they naturally just disperse
their
into
own,
groups.
like their own friendship groups, you mean, is that?
Yeah, of course, yeah. The staff will go around and make sure that they're aware that the time is up. And
Do we have any member of staff stood outside to monitor as they leave to make sure there's no issues?
they do, yeah. So they
do,
follow them round. They follow them out.
Okay. All right, that's it then. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you say now that... sorry, Councillor Askell.
I just wondered, have you got any notices on the premises telling people, to be quiet when they leave in?
Yes, we have, yeah, on the main entrance.
Okay.
And you say that there has been open vessels outside, but they are... Is that a restriction now? That no?
Of course, yeah. Yeah, it is, yeah.
But it wasn't at the time of all of this, is that right?
No, it has always been. It's just that there's been issues with people sneaking through because we haven't got any staff, as in SA staff, on site at all times because it's not viable. There are occasions or minimum occasions where someone may take it out, but there's very little.
So if people go in out to smoke,
they go to the smoking area,
and they can't take drinks.
No, they can take drinks to the smoking area. However, they can't get any drinks outside that smoking area.
But they can take their drinks outside with them.
Outside the smoking area.
To assist members, the smoking area is contained within the licensable area.
Yeah.
So it's an outdoor space within the footprint of the licensed area. If that helps.
Within the footprint.
Yeah. Chair, I have a question which may assist members.
Yes, Lee?
Mr. Perkins, you've told the members about obviously these things that you've implemented. Just so they understand, when did you do all the things that you say that you have done? Is this a recent thing? Is this in December or?
No, this has been ongoing. It's been ongoing throughout the year. There's been things that we've added, and
when you say throughout the year, is that 2026?
Last year, sorry.
So the videos we've seen, that's with your improvements made already.
It's not, no.
Well, I'm confused.
Right. Well, so just to help us then, these improvements were made ongoing throughout 2025.
That's correct, yeah. So in the first clip on the CCTV image, you clearly see the member of staff telling them to leave and quiet. Okay, it wasn't directed as professional as it should be. However, it was there. You could clearly hear it. So that's always been the rule.
Can I just get in?
There was a few videos though, wasn't there, across a few dates? So we didn't hear the same staff in point on the others, did we?
No, you didn't.
So, can I just ask you, Mr. Perkins, when you said there was a staff member out in the car park, I fully accept that. It's quite a difficult job for staff members to do, to move people who are clearly intoxicated. So do you do any extra training through the licensing objective to enable the staff, to empower them to have that knowledge and how to approach people who are intoxicated or aggressive?
No, that's something that we need to put in place.
Okay, thank you. While I'm on that subject, I want to ask you about how you're managing that when you've got a fight there or when you've got aggressive clients. How do you, as a designated older, deal with that?
Normally, if I'm honest with you, it's managed by the staff.
Right, okay.
So, and it's
But then we've got staff who haven't got the skills to deal with those
no,
issues.
they have. Yes, they have.
Okay, so they've been
Regularly.
trained on that to
They have.
deal with.
Yes, yeah, they have. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you just say that there's something that you need to put in place that I miss you?
Regularly, we have the monthly regularly, so they'll need to be renewed as we go along.
Can I also ask another question then? Do you ever do a risk assessment?
Yes,
You do.
we do.
Okay. And what do you put into? What do you class in? What do you consider that needs to be incorporated within your risk assessment?
So, for instance, the risk assessment, the incident that John said about the fight that broke out with the door staff, that was in a funeral. And when we had a meeting, there was a risk assessment on certain individuals in certain funerals. So we took that on board and put that risk assessment in place by putting door staff on.
Do you know why you need to do a risk assessment?
Of course, yeah.
You understand that, do you?
To assess risk, yeah.
To assess the safety
Yeah,
of your staff,
Of course, yeah.
residents, customers,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and to protect them from harm as well.
That's right.
Yeah, thank you.
May I add, we always like to...
Can you put the microphone on?
I'm sorry. We always like to promote a safe working environment, so hence for the risk assessment with staff and obviously patrons.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you.
Todd, did you want to?
Yeah, just a couple of questions from myself. Do you accept that you made a call to Mr. Priest in, I think 8th of November? So did you say 2nd? 6th.
That's correct, yes, I did.
Yeah.
And it wasn't intimidating at all.
Okay, what was the purpose of the call? Why did you intend to
Just to kind of speak to him and ask what the issue was and try and work things out. We've always tried to work things out, but it's just...
You needed his input to get clarity as to what the issues were, despite the intervention of the
exactly.
responsible owners?
That's exactly what it was, yeah.
So you've been visited by licensing, you've been visited by environmental health on and off for several months, and you're still confused and you need clarification from Mr. Priest as to what the issues are.
It was just a call, just a conversation.
Just a conversation.
A call for a conversation to see what's actually happened. And that was that.
What do you mean actually happened? What are you talking about? What did you need to know about that?
There was an incident on November the 5th that that's the incident, yeah.
And you had your own CCTV footage of that?
That's correct, yeah.
You look at that?
Yes.
Why did you need to call Mr. Priest?
Just to clarify what the issue was.
Because it wasn't apparent on your CCTV
on his
footage?
behalf.
Okay. Why didn't you provide a recording of the meeting to the officers as requested that you made?
I didn't reply to the recording because there was no reason for it, to be honest.
They asked for it. It's their data.
I know.
It's their personal data.
I understand
You've
that.
recorded that. They've asked for it. That's lawful. Why didn't you provide it?
I just didn't.
Is there a medical reason you needed to record it?
I wanted to record it because I've got ADHD and I wanted to make sure that I was getting the information over and over again.
Okay. Were all meetings sought to be recorded?
Not all.
Just the one?
Just the one.
Why that one?
Just because it was important. It was more of a in-depth meeting.
Yeah. Okay. If you recorded them in the future and requested to provide it across, would you?
Of course, yes.
Okay. Do you regret not doing so?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
And it was one of those things that I should have done.
Was your backup? You put in colloquial terms, were you getting frustrated by the process of the involvement from responsible authorities?
I wouldn't say frustrated, no. I wouldn't say that at all. It was just, it was regular, shall we say.
Yeah.
And we were putting the things in place and it was just as if we were getting knocked back every time. So
yeah,
I was white. You could say it was a little bit frustrating, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, because with the incident on the 5th of November with the CCTV that prompted the phone call to Mr. Priest, I mean, that seemed to be, another serious sort of nuisance incident. So the things you're putting in place up till November didn't seem to be biting, if you know what I mean, in terms of being effective. Would you accept that?
No, I wouldn't accept that.
So you think that the incident on the 5th of November with that disturbance, that's occurred notwithstanding your improvements?
Can you repeat that? Sorry.
The incident on the 5th of November, the nuisance that occurred on that evening in the late hours, has occurred notwithstanding that you made all those improvements. Is that what you're saying?
I would say so. Yeah. It's there's been an issue and they've come outside and that's what's happened there.
Okay. My final questions. In Appendix 7 on page 145 of the report, it goes on for a few pages. That's the licensing manager's recommended conditions to be placed on your license if it were to be revoked. Effectively, a wholesale replacement of the conditions that you've got at the moment. This is conditions apart from the terminal hour, which is something that the committee will need to make a decision on should they not revoke. Did you want to address the members on any proposed condition in Appendix 17 that you may feel is disproportionate, unworkable, or unfair in any way to you?
No.
So you've read through those conditions prior to today?
Yes.
And you wouldn't object in principle to any of those being put in place should you keep the licence?
No.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr.
Can I, sorry, Councillor Heron, can I just confirm then, as you say there's 20 people that goes into the smoking area, the condition would suggest that there's only 10 into the smoking area at any one time. You're fully accepting of that and able to police that,
yes.
Manage that?
Yes.
Councillor Heron?
Thank you, Chair. And what I'd like to know, during the time you spent at the premise, what consideration have you given to your neighbours, to your proximity as well? You know, have you engaged with neighbours? Have you tried to respond to them when there's been a disturbance, or that you allowed them that you're going to do a certain event and that you work side by side with them to make sure that they're comfortable as well?
Of course, yeah, that's exactly our intentions from the start. However, after the first kind of event that went really well and we worked together on things, there was a previous issue then with regards to the fans and ongoing, and from there that the relationship kind of broke. Liz, the councillor, is actually 2 doors down from us. She comes to our over 50s club. She hasn't seen it. Her reports are in here, but they're very... She says that she wasn't aware that the club was open until 1 o'clock, which means that she hasn't heard much. But yeah, again, like I said, we were always willing to, and always have been willing to work with the neighbours.
So when there's been disturbances or incidents that have been quite distressful, because we've seen that we're fighting, have you approached your neighbours to try to build bridges and try to, to still reassure them you're going to work with licensing and that you want to run a good place and that you want a good reputation? Well,
we have done at the start, and then it just, like I said, it's the relationship's broken down over time.
If you don't mind me, I saw Mrs. Priest shaking her head then and saying that suggesting there's not been any involvement. Can I just, if you knock your microphone off at the moment, Mr. Perkins, thank you.
Initially, we had a relationship where Mr. Perkins came to the house when they took over and explained his intentions, and they all sounded really positive. We don't go to the premises, but it's there, so we accepted the fact that it would be great if he was going to turn it into the community pub that he said he was going to, and that people would be able to use it. As I said, the event was run in March. We were absolutely dreading it, but it was fine. We had no issues whatsoever, and we communicated that to Mr. Perkins. I think where the relationship deteriorated, we had a couple of instances of patrons coming out to the pub and urinating on my gate at about 6 o'clock in the evening when I was coming home with my daughter. And I did approach the individuals, and, you know, the response wasn't particularly nice. I did go to Mr. Perkins and I'd sent him a message and I said, look, you know, this is happening. He acknowledged the fact that it was unacceptable, but said that he didn't recognise the person and he would wash my wall down. The urination had happened on a couple of occasions. Another time, I was in the front garden with my daughter and a gentleman walked out of the pub and urinated on the fence just the other side of us, and I had my 10-year-old daughter with me. But at that point, relationships, to be honest, had deteriorated. There were instances with the fan in the back garden. We couldn't use the back garden, so we had the noise from the patrons out the front. We had the noise from the fan out the back. We had nowhere to go in our home that we didn't have any noise. And I think when nothing was really being done about it, and then the fan was fixed, it was sorted, and that was great. And things outside had seemed to settle down a little bit as well in terms of noise. And then the fan started making noise again. So I thought, right, you know, things seem to be a little bit quieter. Maybe it's being better managed. And I did send Mr. Perkins a message and I said, look, just to let you know, the fan is making a noise again. Can you sort it out? Because I am aware that they wouldn't notice if the fan was making a noise because it's on a part of the building that they wouldn't access unless they purposely accessed it, unless they would purposely go into that area. So I sent him a message and he said, oh, so it's you that's sending the complaints. I had a feeling it was you. And that was the response. And I didn't want to get into that confrontation of, you know, that personal tit for tat, which was when things escalated then to the authorities. Because to be honest, I've got 2 young children in that house. You know, the things that they have witnessed, you know, I've been walking my daughter home from school at 4 o'clock in the afternoon to people drug dealing outside my gate. You know, we have had the instances of fighting, and to be honest, we did expect Mr. Perkins to come round and say, look, I'm aware what went on last night. We're going to try and sort it out. But there was never, you know, we've never seen him, never heard from him, unless it's been an attempt of retaliation.
Until the 6th of November or whatever date it was.
So since the message reply to me about the fans, and he you know, his parting words on that message were, well, you've done me a favour because the authorities are over the moon with us at the moment, or the authorities are really over the moon with us. And I thought, great, if you're happy, then, you know, then that makes our lives more comfortable. And then we have heard nothing at all until the 6th of November.
Thank you very much for that, Mrs. Priest. In the report throughout, it's often mentioned you see some of this as vexatious and there's a vendetta. Are you saying it's Mrs. Priest who's responsible for that vendetta?
I believe we've been trying to work with them from the start. There's been issues. We accept that. We've been looking to work together on things. However, since that kind of breakage, you know, the kind of the issue with the report first with the fan, it's just gone down from there.
I understand the first instance. I'm trying to understand. You say that you've tried to work with them. You don't.
I've got no other angle to think not. No.
Okay. And you've, despite all the repeated interventions from the responsible authorities, you didn't really try to work with them, did you?
Work with
the responsible authorities, the environmental health, the trade, or the responsible authorities like Victoria Woodland.
Yeah, well, we have worked with them. I mean,
sorry, Mr. Perkins, you're saying you have worked with them.
We've made the improvements. That's what I'm trying to say.
Do you accept though that? Okay, what was the purpose of when last on 11th of November suggesting you would hear from the legal team? There's been no correspondence from any solicitor or legal representative. Yeah. What was the purpose behind that? If you was working with them to help manage this and make improvements, that seems to me quite confrontational rather than working with the
I accept that. I understand that.
So that has gone away, is it? The attempt to seek legal representation?
Well, we have attempted, but it's not been a success. We have attempted it.
I don't want to go down into the woods on this. You say not been a success. Is that because of the evidence in front of them?
I wouldn't say so, no. It's just there's not been a representation for us.
Okay, I'll leave it at that. Thank you. Councillor Heron.
Thank you, Chair. You proposed that you'd close at 11:30, yeah? And then disperse everybody at 12. Is that correct, Todd?
I believe that's
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Why do you think that will work then, given all that's happened? What convinces you that that is going to be the golden hour that's going to work well?
Well, I believe that it was just meeting in the middle. That's what I believe.
Okay.
Instead of
any evidence to support or what you propose to do to make that time more proactive, more efficient, how you can control the noise, any possible disturbances, the dispersal of your patrons.
I've already mentioned that in the improvements that we made.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Perkins. Thank you, Councillor Evan. Are there any, Rhian?
Thank you, Chair. I didn't want to interject earlier, so I may have a few questions and observations for Mr. Perkins. Mr. Perkins gave the impression that he volunteered measures in relation to specifically the smoking shelter. Can I just clarify, please, and correct the record to show that it was actually following recommendations and requirements from our smoking officer that certain measures be introduced? I just wanted to clarify that those measures were as a result of an officer's request, not the voluntary introduction by Mr. Perkins. And then additionally, can I please ask Mr. Perkins, in relation to staff training for age prevention, you said you now offer training to your staff. Who carries out that training, please?
So the first question was when the environmental officer come to the smoking shelter, in the smoking area, shall we say. The environmental officer closed the smoking area down with immediate effect. And the reason for that was it didn't meet the standards. The smoking shelter's been there for around 14 years, and with back and forth emails to the gentleman that arrived at the premises, he then stated in an email that he didn't realise that the smoking shelter didn't have a roof on it, and you can open it up with immediate effect. However, you need to put CCTV footage in there. There needs to be a mechanical arm on the door and the signage as well on the doors. And those were already in place on the visit, so that's that.
And the training?
The training's in-house. It's done by ourselves.
And what does that entail, please? Could you be specific?
I can't answer that question.
So can I? Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
So you offer the training, but you can't explain what that training entails. Is that what you're saying?
We have regular meetings and regular staff meetings on these things.
Is it meeting or training?
Meetings.
So it's not training.
Okay.
Well, is it or isn't it?
No.
So it's not training. So everything you've mentioned about training your staff to date is an error?
No, that's not true.
Well, clarify for us.
Can you put your microphone on, please? Can you clarify?
So that the staff training.
You've made earlier representations that you regularly train staff. You've been quizzed by the...
Sorry, Todd. Sorry,
That's
because
correct.
I won't be able to hear it. Sorry. If you knock your microphone off while
sorry.
Todd's speaking, thank you.
Over the last half hour or so, you've made a consistent answer that you've been responsible for training staff, and you've been asked on the committee by the committee members on various aspects, clearing patrons from the car park, etc., and yes, you train them. Now, hold on. You've been challenged to give details of the training. You say you can't answer that. Then on further challenge, you say, well, it's more of a meeting. And we're asking, is it training or is it a meeting? Like, explain the training you give, and do you consider it training, why you consider it training, and break it down for the committee, please.
So with the staff training, there's the regular checks with regards to the perimeter checks and whatnot, and the noise. However, in the actual training, as in a professional aspect, we don't have that.
And given the perhaps or the alleged checkered history of how this premises has been managed over the last 12 months, do you feel confident in your knowledge of what's required to give the training to your staff?
I would look to bring the training to the premises.
For outsource, like bringing
Outsource,
in experts.
yeah. Yes,
I see.
yeah.
Thank you.
Rian?
No, I think Todd explored it. Thank you, Chair. But just to go back to the point about the smoking shelter, can I please just read an extract from an email from... Sorry? It's not. Sorry, Todd, no.
Well,
and it only came to light given that Mr. Perkins provided an impression that he voluntarily introduced measures to address the smoking, but I know otherwise.
I appreciate that, and I maybe get a bosh over the head from the chair, but it's not in the pack.
No, sir.
It's not been circulated. Mr. Perkins hasn't seen sight of it. He hasn't had a chance to look at it and prepare a reply and get evidence of his own as to what he meant or what may counter the impression you say it gives. So my view is we shouldn't entertain that.
That's fine, Todd. Thanks.
That's fair enough. But at least we get the gist of how things are. One of the final things from me, Mr. Perkins, you said you needed this extra time because of trade to keep your business afloat or whatever. But you are proposing to reduce from that terminal hour, aren't you?
As a last resort, yes. As a, we will reduce.
So it's not what you want. It's just
not.
a last resort.
It's clearly not what we want. We need to stay open as much, as a business, any business would. However, moving forward, if that is the case, and that we'd accept it.
And I note that the responsible authorities are not suggesting revocation of your license, but in the absence of proper staff training and all the rest of it, how can we be confident that you could continue to manage this effectively even till 11 o'clock if we accepted 11 o'clock or 11:30, which you want at the last resort?
The correct training will be put in place.
By whom? Yourself?
No, by professional outside.
Well, that may be something that have to be conditioned.
That's fine.
We'll explore that in our deliberation. There's nothing further from me. Is there anything, Councillor Heron?
Yeah, one more. When you say that you allow the staff to do professional training, am I correct? Did I read in the report that training was offered, free training? Lee?
Knock it off.
Yes, we afforded Mr. Perkins's premises. I think 2 members of staff attended the personal license course training offered by the authority for free back earlier last year. I think it was around May time. I think it was three dates in May. So I think 2 members of staff did attend.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Victoria?
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to ask the licence holder a question about the incidence of breaches of the noise abatement notice on the 1st, the 5th and the 8th of November. Did he review the CCTV that he's got for the external areas and take any action in respect of that? Such as excluding any patrons, banning them from the premises, thinking about resources with regards to staff training so that they can obviously deal with that. Because on the 5th of November, we've seen the footage, but an hour later, an officer attended from Environmental Health and the noise continued for another hour after that. So that was 2 hours worth of noise that you witnessed.
That has been condensed into a couple of
That
seconds.
is just condensed there. So that's 2 hours worth. So that was on the evening that the second breach was witnessed by officers. I just wondered if, you know, the licence holder had taken it upon himself to review the CCTV footage that he says he has in place and the actions that, and confirm the actions that he took. Thank you.
Yes, we did review the CCTV on November the 5th. We looked at it and put things in place. We've again put a staff meeting together on dealing with these issues.
Can you clarify what you've put in place? You said you had a staff meeting. Can you clarify for us and for what Victoria said about what you actually put in place in light of what
the regular perimeter checks to stop this from happening?
Did you want to come in, please?
Yeah. Can you let me know what is a regular perimeter check? Thank you.
We've got areas of in the premises where the checks will be done. So we've got, you should have it in the pack that we've sent over. There's certain areas where we think that the noise may be an issue. So we have a tick box and a signature for the members of staff to go around and make sure that everything's okay.
Okay, thank you.
Sandra?
I just want to go back a little bit, really, in terms of the staff at the premise. How many staff, Mr. Perkins, do you have on at any one time to manage the premise?
2 members of staff.
Two members?
2 members on occasions, and then they would be 3 and possibly 4 on the larger events.
So if you've got sorry, Sandra, I interrupt. So if you've got a function and they're serving behind the bar, how are they conducting the perimeter checks and everything else at the same time?
So there's one will stay and one will do the check. It's pretty simple.
It's pretty...
No, it depends on how many are on. It would just be a kind of just like I said, if one is busy and one's not, and they can go and do the checks and make sure everything's okay.
Okay, Sandra?
It is correct, Mr. Perkins. It is quite a large premises with several rooms. So do you consider 2 members of staff to be sufficient to be able to manage that?
There's 2 members of staff on when there's no functions. There's 4 members of staff when there is functions.
So at night, when we've seen these recordings, they were because there was a function on, is that what you're saying? Or it wasn't just an average night?
There's been occasions where there has been functions on, yes. November the 5th was a funeral.
But on that suggests there's been occasions where there hasn't been functions as well, I should imagine.
Correct, yes.
Sandra?
So on the 5th of November, did you conduct a risk assessment and have SIA door staff on that would have assisted?
We did conduct a risk assessment, however, we felt it wasn't needed for the door staff.
Well, something you might...
And I would like to add the gentleman that was involved in it wasn't in the funeral. He'd entered before. He'd entered after.
Councillor Hart.
Could I ask what is the capacity of your club for standing or seating?
In the function hall? Or?
Well, when you were saying staff are on, 4 staff, overall in your premises?
150.
Well, and one other thing for me, we've focused on some of the noise and the incidents outside, but the report also mentions noise coming from inside. loud music or whatever after time. Is that something you recognise, Mr. Perk?
No.
So
Any music, any amplified music would be in the lounge or in the function room at the back, and the function room at the back has double glazing, so it's been soundproofed.
So it's been soundproof. So all the reports of noise emanating from outside can't have happened because it's been soundproof. Is that right?
No, it's not. No, it's not right. But there's no amplified music in the sports area of the club.
Okay. I don't know if you wanted to respond, Victoria. You don't have to.
Sorry, my microphone.
No, it's
Just to make the comment that complaints have been received and music noise has been witnessed by an officer, which has been referenced in my report from the premises.
And that's the thing. Some of these people you can't possibly say that they've got a vendetta or they're vexatious. These are professional people reporting as it is to us, and yet you say it never happened. Is that your position, Mr. Perkins?
The music is not never. The music isn't amplified. It's
okay. Thank you very much for that, Mr. Perkins. Lee, if you, I got no other questions. So if there's nothing for Mr. Perkins, I'm conscious of the time, Lee.
Okay.
So I'll hand over to you, and if you have to leave, you can leave.
Thank you, members. Thank you, everyone. Members, you are at that stage now shortly where you will go into deliberate the determination of this application for review brought about by one of the responsible authorities with the key role of prevention of public nuisance licensing objective. Members, I know that you will have read the report. I know that you will also consider in your deliberations all of the information you've heard or seen during today's meeting, and which has been provided to you by the licence holder and the responsible authorities and local resident who has attended this meeting. Members, I would ask that you obviously go into your deliberations mindful of the promotion of the licensing objectives, that you will consider then the council's own statement of licensing policy, the Section 182 guidance, and obviously the Licensing Act itself in arriving at your determination. Members, obviously, I know you will communicate that via your legal officer to us, obviously, within the next 5 working days. So, members, I would thank you for taking the time to obviously carefully consider all of the information that you've heard or seen in addition to the officer report. So, back to you, Chair, and I would invite you to bring in the responsible authorities and parties to close the meeting.
Thank you very much for that, Lee. And I'll now go through all the responsible authorities in turn, starting with Victoria.
Thank you, Chair. We've considered all the information that the licence holder has produced today and obviously submitted prior to this hearing, and we have no confidence. We don't move on our position. We stand with what we have recommended in the report, and nothing has dissuaded us otherwise. Okay.
Thank you very much, Victoria. Sandra?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'd like to bring you back to my conclusion from my earlier representation, and it is still considered that the reduction in licence hours and by bringing forward the terminal hour for licensed activities and implementation and the compliance is quite important, the compliance with a more robust operating schedule as detailed in Appendix 17 will assist the licence holder in the promotion of the licensing objectives. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. PC Taylor.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, Gwent Police echoes that. As proposed by the other responsible authorities, terminal hour brought back to 2,300 hours. Mr. Perkins is accepting all recommendations for conditions in Appendix 17, and they would probably have to be audited in 2026 quite robustly to make sure that there's compliance. Also agree and recommend, as proposed by Mr. Perkins, removal of himself as DPS and a new DPS variation applied for ASAP.
Thank you very much for that, PC Taylor. Rhian.
Chair, it's encouraging to learn from Mrs. Priest that some improvements have been observed, and also I feel encouraged that Mr. Perkins himself has introduced some measures, although I feel these are minimal and have been provided at such a late stage, this suggesting that the licence holder hasn't really taken his responsibility as premise licence holder and DPS seriously at all. I feel there is now actually a greater need for the conditions requested by TS in relation to underage sales prevention, as I do not have confidence that appropriate underage prevention measures will be utilised otherwise. Our position still stands in that we support environmental health with their representations and Gwent Police and the licensing authority.
Thank you very much, Rhian. Dean Pugh, please.
Yeah, hi, Chair. I can concur with what the other RAs have said. I believe it's pertinent that Mr. Perkins adopts the additional conditions which have been proposed. I would just like to point out as well, we can't gold plate legislation, but from a health and safety perspective, when you look at the noise with the fan, there is a requirement in health and safety legislation for the maintenance of equipment. So I think any health and safety legislation as well will have to be taken on board by Mr. Perkins. So when he is dealing with officers, to be receptive of what the information, guidance they are giving them as well.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that, Dean. And I'll now go to you, Mrs. Priest, to just sum up your position.
Yeah, nothing further to add to our sort of what we feel about the situation really, but just to say that we strongly advocate for environmental health's position in terms of terminal hour at 11 p.m. And dispersal of all patrons from the property at 11:30. We just don't see how it's going to work any other way.
Thank you very much. And the last word on this to you, Mr. Perkins.
I'd just like to say that these things to be implemented would be something that we would work on, and we would definitely look to change the DPS as soon as possible and look to put the correct training and things in place moving forward.
Thank you very much, Mr. Perkins. Thank you all for your representations. I shall now hand over to Todd.
Thank you, Chair. In a moment, the Chair will ask all parties present to leave the chamber and those who have attended remotely on Teams to hang up, and the subcommittee will retire to discuss the application and representations that they've heard throughout the meeting today. I'll be there to offer legal advice, and the committee clerk will also be present. The decision of the subcommittee will be then circulated by the licensing department within 5 working days of the meeting. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Todd, and can I thank you all for attending today. I'll now ask for the webcast to be stopped. If we can just remain seated just momentarily while it is. And once it has ended, we can all leave. But again, thank you all very much.